Hey guys, this is going to be a long video. It's going to start out looking at the macro, and then it's how that's going to apply to you. So if you're interested in what's going on all around us, and then how that applies to you specifically, please stay to the end of this video. This is going to be a long video. I mean, I was going to make a video this weekend. And I had a dream last night that is specific to me, that it's like, you're just do what you're told to do. Let's put it that way, right? So I made myself a drink. It's beautiful outside, and I want to go spend time outside today. I'm going to go take the dog for a walk, but I knew that I was going to have to make this video, so I did my morning yoga routine, and now we're drinking our drink here and making this video. So I was trying to think about how the best way to start this. If you guys think about what's happening externally, like I've said before in other videos, what's happening externally is happening internally at the same time. So let's take us back to the 90s, right? What happened to us back in the 90s? Think about the 90s revolution. What happened in the 90s? I went to college in the early 90s. The early 90s was a huge leap in technology. I mean, technology was expanding so quickly in the 90s, from the 80s to the 90s to the early 2000s. If you guys remember, in the late 90s, computers, if you bought a computer in like 1998, the computer in 1999 was 10 times faster. I mean, the technology and the way they understood the way that worked, they were able to make microchips so much faster in such a short amount of time that things became obsolete very quickly, right? I mean, at one time we had these huge laser discs, but they went away like that because the technology changed. The way LEDs changed. LEDs got cheaper to make. You guys remember TVs. Now all of a sudden TVs are starting to slow down a little bit, and the technology is slowing down because, we'll get to that later. Anyway, so people who understood market trends were able to take advantage of the market. Right? Investors could tell where market trends are going. Right now, investors are looking because, and I know for a fact because I just got done talking to an investor a couple days ago who I had to try and explain. Part of what I'm trying to do is create a new virtual currency. And I had to try and explain why that's applicable and why it's different than every other virtual currency out there. Because investors are not investing in virtual currencies anymore. Not at all. There's no new ones being created, and if they are, they're people started to learn that the marketplace really doesn't care about what other virtual currencies out there because they're not solving one fundamental problem. And if you stay to the end of this video, you'll understand what that problem is. Getting back to the 90s, that was the start of Amazon. Amazon really started in the 90s because Jeff Bezos, he saw a need, right? For the marketplace, you're always providing for a need. And he saw how people, if he could, and he already saw what he was going to create down the road, but nobody else could see it. And so he just had to start small. He had to start with just selling books. And he knew what that was going to move into and what that was going to lead to. He was solving a consumer problem for consumers to get whatever they needed from one place, right? That's what Walmart did. That's why Walmart took over the industry. So you have two major entities for consumers out there, Walmart and Amazon, period. Who else can provide you with what you want? The other big one is Google, right? Google and Microsoft, information-based. So you've got these four big entities that took over the marketplace 20 years ago, 30 years ago, because they understood everything is information and everything is providing for a need, right? How do you get the right information to provide for a need? That's what sales and marketing all is. Trying to get you in a psychological state to make sure that you understand that I got what you need, right? And so at the same time, back in the 90s, there was a couple of guys that made a video called The Money Masters. If you I don't know how to find that video online anymore. It was free to view for a long time, and it's like a 3-hour video. It goes behind the history of money. Now you might ask yourself, well, what does that have to do with a need? Well, when you're trying to provide a need for somebody, there's always people are our resource, right? You and I are each other's resource for each other. Now, in order to control a resource, you're controlling time and energy, right? Somebody is trying to control your time and energy. So in order to do that, you have to control the energetic exchange between two people. And if you apply a monetary value to that, and if you control that, now you control that resource, right? Every single war you see out there is about trying to control a resource. And that resource is you. That's why the movie The Matrix is so powerful, and it came out in the late 90s, right? You are a battery, right? That was the point of that movie, to show you that you are a battery. You are a resource for somebody else, unless we come to now, 2024, well, the last 3-4 years, huge spiritual awakening, people are starting to realize that they don't want to be a resource for other people, right? You need to be a resource for yourself, because if you're just pouring your energy into somebody else, it's just using you. Why are you letting people use you, right? And so now, present day, we have this huge stream of YouTube channels, all these independent, and they're the freest people out there because they're working for themselves, and they're naturally attracting businesses to both, promote their business, because people want to see other people having fun. The most successful channels out there are the people that are just genuine people that you can see they're just having a great time. I mean, I love Vice Grip Garage. Derek is one of the greatest guys on YouTube, and it's just somebody who was doing what he loved to do for other people. Pick up clunkers. He was probably, and I get this intuitively, Derek was an awesome guy who just wanted to help people get a vehicle, in their hands, not having to go buy a new rig. He could get anything running for you, right? And so, amazing guy. And from a spiritual standpoint, that's why he's so successful. And that's why he's doing what he's doing now. Now all he does is do resto mods for giveaways. He's doing an F100 right now where he's just rebuilding the motor and redoing it for somebody because it's his passion, right? To give somebody the ability that, that doesn't have, in the system that we're working in, isn't privileged enough to have something that is something that somebody did for them. And how awesome is that, right? And this is the value of following your heart. Derek is successful because he followed his heart. He did not follow money. If you look into every single one of those stories, whether it's Cletus McFarlane, and Cletus McFarlane isn't his real name, but he was following his heart, right? He just loved cars. And if you look at the story, behind how his channel really got started, it was because he got this shell of a Corvette. It was just like a roll cage, and jumped in it and hit the track and started just motoring down the track. And so everyone loved seeing that. It's like he was just doing what he loved, and he started just naturally attracting all those people. So you got to do what you love, right? If you're not doing what you love, you're doing it for money. That's the secret. So how do you get around that, right? In a society that works on money, that uses you on a resource as a resource for, and tries to control that resource through currency. Now, after Money Masters, the people that developed Bitcoin knew this fundamentally. It's like, we need to create a decentralized currency to keep it from being controlled. We don't want anybody to control this currency, right? Decentralization is the way to go. Now, that worked in the group psyche for the last 15 years, right? 2008 financial crisis showed us, and that's when Bitcoin really got launched, really got off the ground, that, a banking structure, all it is just a parasite on the community, right? All it's doing is trading your credit for currency. The bank isn't giving anything to you. They're just trading one note for another, and both of them are assets to that bank. Nobody else can do that. And just because you put a label as a bank makes it so that they can do that. It is pretty sick. And then take interest off of it. But that system, because it's so parasitic, they started feeding on each other. The banks were feeding on each other, creating securities that had no intrinsic value, even less value than what I just stated. Right? They were like securities backed up by securities. And so the government came in because that was the system we were living on, and it just bailed them all out. Problem with that is you still have more of a consumer market, and so you're not, all you're doing is putting a Band-Aid on an underlying problem that isn't getting resolved. And since the whole world is dependent on that system, and that system is made to feed off of you, a parasite will end up killing the host unless you starve out the parasite. It's the only way to keep a parasite from feeding off of you. If you have a tapeworm in your stomach, the only way to keep it from killing you is to starve it. And so they'll give you drugs in different ways so that the parasite can't feed, and then the parasite dies, and then your body exits it. But if you enable that parasite to keep feeding, there's nothing you can do, right? Your body, it's going to keep feeding on you. And if you have to keep it from feeding on you, it's about controlling your energy. So Bitcoin, right, and this is what applies to you. I had a conversation with somebody. I was calling my mortgage company and talking to him about some stuff. And I told him, I just read a book. And I was telling him about how we can, problems in the marketplace. And he's like, well, that really doesn't, that's not really our fault as the middle and low income people. And I was like, well, it's everyone's fault. All of us decide where we want to pour our energy. If you want to let someone take advantage of you, you can if you want. And he's like, well, I guess that's a good point. Right? So, anyway, getting back to decentralization. So, what fundamental problem does all the decentralized currencies solve but not solve? So they did solve decentralization. Decentralized currencies did solve, in some aspects, but not all, who controls the currency. Because if it's decentralized, you can't. The problem is whoever owns most of it controls the value of that currency. That's the problem that they didn't solve. And that's why, as soon as Bitcoin came out, all the big players, that's why there's a Bitcoin vault. You can watch, movies about it. And so since then you had more iterations, and then people were trying to solve that problem. Okay, well, Ethereum came out, which was a much more streamlined and more economical, took less energy to compute, Ethereum. And so Ethereum solved some problems that Bitcoin had, but Ethereum still didn't solve this one underlying problem. How does every currency out there give you just as much intrinsic value as someone else? How does it? If you can answer that question for me, then... So this is something that I realized when I was working. For some of you, if you're watching this video and you know me personally, I worked for a Grant County PUD for 10, 11 years. And I saw a lot of things happen, and this is something that I've known for a long time. And it's just because I'm sensitive to other people in a lot of different ways, is that, I've been gifted with unlimited creative potential. I have a lot of gifts. I move a lot of information and energy. I can feel people very intuitively, very intimately. I know usually what you're thinking. But I also know that all of us have something that is very unique that only you have that nobody else has. But you don't know what that is unless you unblock your heart. All of us, including myself, especially in the past, have barriers around your heart. Now, people can reprogram your mind and convince you of anything, but they cannot control your heart. If you're following your heart, you cannot be controlled. The Nazis won World War II. A lot of people don't even understand that, but they figured out during the war that they need to start putting their efforts into mind control. Read the book Poland. If you've never read the book Poland, a good friend of mine referred the book Poland to me. Poland is a really sad case, right? The Polish people were under subject of mind control experiments for hundreds of years between Russia and Germany. Those two countries experimented on Poland, do specific things to specific villages to see psychological reactions, to pull people out of there, do specific things to certain people to develop mind control techniques. Can't control someone's heart. Because our heart is always going to lead us in a direction that to do whatever it is extremely unique to you for other people. Now, that's why the Ascended Masters, Jesus, whoever you want to refer to, always said that money and mammon, if you follow that, it's like you never get to the kingdom of heaven within you. Because it's in your heart. It's just being blocked. That's why they call it hardening of the heart. Hardening of the heart is a resistance around your heart that keeps you from accessing your heart. And that hardening of the heart is the way you view other people. If you're viewing somebody as bad or good, that's not true. That's why judgment creates a blockage around your heart. Don't judge other people. People are just experiencing pain that is blocking their heart. You can give me the most hardened criminal out there, somebody who's just what you would view as the most evil, terrible human being in the world. And I would be able to tell him or her where the blockages in their heart are and why they're acting the way they're acting. Now, that doesn't guarantee that you can't fix somebody that doesn't want to be fixed, right? And people have to understand what's going on with them. But everything that we're going through is about healing the heart space. Everything. Because everything in this entire body that you see in front of me, or in front of you, when you look in the mirror, every single blockage that you have to move more energy and information and raising your frequency is a blockage around your heart. And so your heart is always going to tell you what it is unique for you to do for other people. And as that uniqueness manifests itself and you open up your heart space, you start to become more clairvoyant. You start to see the bigger picture much more easily and see, because you're just moving more information and energy in the body. And so how you serve other people starts to change a little bit. I was talking to somebody the other day who, she was telling me, I see you as a spiritual advisor, a mentor to me. And I was like, it's the trap that people fall into is to place themselves above somebody else. Because if you do that, you'll never be a healing entity for that person. So currency in and of itself, and this is something that none of those currencies solve. It doesn't matter if you're talking about Bitcoin or Ethereum or the dollar or the euro. It doesn't matter. If I have something for you that I can help you with, but I need to pull from you to get it, I'm not healing you because I'm causing you pain. Right? So what's the answer to the question? The question is, and this is something that, my mission in this life is two-part. It's to lift you up, to make you understand that the only thing that's blocking you and your ability to create the life that is most fulfilling for you is just following your heart, because you'll unblock your heart space as long as you don't do it for money, and you just put yourself in service to the people around you, because that's what's going to open up your heart space. It's going to make you understand people better. It's going to make you understand yourself better, because you get to into your emotional states. So before I go much farther, that's what you see, especially in the tarot card community. I was talking to somebody about tarot cards the other day, and tarot cards are just information, right? I mean, you can pull out any of these Aerofont. You can be looked at in a lot of different ways. Sometimes people think, oh, that's marriage. You're just following your intuition to tell you what the card's telling you at the time. I could just use written cards. Problem with doing that for a group collective, let's say I'm making a YouTube video, and this is something that, and the why I did it for a little while, but then I helped, I got to meet Donna, and that was the vehicle that helped me meet Donna. And I love you, Donna. I'm so excited to meet you. I know you're showing up. I really love to meet you. And spend time with you. There's nothing more than I want to do than spend time with you. But what that does is it's never going to apply to everybody. Now it is true that different soul groups are learning similar lessons at the same time. So you can give group collective messages that will apply to a lot of different people because they're going through the same situation, right? But all of it is about controlling your energy and finding value within yourself and doing what your heart is telling you to do. So to me, it felt like it was easier for me to give that message than to continue to give messages for the collective, because a lot of times you can't give that's why all readers will say this, take what resonates, leave the rest behind, but it all has to do with knowledge of the self. And if your self-knowledge isn't good enough, I really don't want to enable somebody, and it's not my fault, right? If you have to take yourself out of it, it's not my fault if somebody misunderstands what I'm saying and doesn't understand what I'm trying to present to them. But giving people the bigger picture helps people understand why they're going through pain. You're constantly trying to eliminate pain in the body. Everything in this reality is about eliminating pain so that everything's growing back together. That is evolution in and of itself. When you look at everything around you, it's eliminating pain blocks so that it blossoms and expands its awareness. That's how you manifest a more complicated physical vessel in this reality. All of us, every single one, everything in this reality is connected right at the center of your heart space. And once you get right to the center and you unblock yourself completely, that is Jesus' story. I am the way, right? The truth and the life, where he became the creator, because the creator is everything, God, right? Everything that is, ever was, or ever will be. And so but that's why by following your heart, you're unblocking your heart and getting back into your heart space. And then you can see the blockages in other people and see where they might have, you will become a healer. There's no way that you'll have to. Not only that, but if you can see the bigger picture, you can provide something for people to enable them to do that, right? This current system is not enabling people to do that. And that's why, we're moving from webinars and all this stuff, because people are, if there's something that's isolating you, it's able to draw off the energy between two exchanges. That's why the movie The Matrix was so amazing. It was telling that story of how the only way that somebody can turn you into a battery is by pulling you apart from other people. And so since the businesses and the old business models are based on currency and weighing people's value depending on a currency, then it created a bunch of differences in potential in those businesses. But now those businesses are breaking down because more energy is moving through the system. It's happening on the outside and the inside at the same time. So people are calling it a spiritual awakening, but people are finding, hey, I have a lot of worth. You have infinite amount of self-worth. Nobody is worth more than anybody else. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you call it. Your journey could be, and maybe it's not your time to ascend in this lifetime. Maybe you're learning specific lessons in it, but all of us, every single one of us, are sitting right here. Doesn't matter if it takes you 1,000 lifetimes. Doesn't matter if it takes you 1,000,000 lifetimes. It's as simple as that. And that's why your heart will always connect you with everybody around you. Ask and you shall receive. There's nothing more powerful than that statement. Because if somebody comes and say, hey, can you help me with this? And if you say no, you're telling them that somehow your time has more value than theirs, that you have a need. That's the only thing in this reality that expands our awareness, when you start fulfilling the needs of other people. Right? So getting back to the solution is to create a structure for people so that they can follow their heart and unblock their heart and serve the people around them. However it is they need to feel served. Serve those people and empower them to do that. And to make decisions as a group to pull people back together so that people can start exchanging their energy and understanding, making sure that creating a system where everyone is given equal value, and it will force people to grow. And if you're not growing, you have to empower people to make sure that they can exclude people that don't want to spend time investing in each other. I hope that helps, right? I'm probably, take portions of this video off and just maybe clip it and put some of it on LinkedIn and Facebook. But I encourage any of you, if you're watching that clip, to go ahead and watch the whole video. All those guys, everybody was trying to find a need for the market, but the one thing that nobody's done yet is provided something for people that made them feel as though they were whole. You're always going to feel like you're just a part if you're going for money. And so that's why we see a mental health crisis, especially in the rich. The uber rich are going through a big mental health crisis because many times the more money you make, the more it isolates you from other people. Right? Because you're viewing everybody as trying to feed off you. It's a sacred journey, right? Following your heart is a very sacred journey. I pulled that card a lot. Though I pulled it last time I was on here. And that's why readers have become what they've become. Because if you're following your heart and you're opening yourself up spiritually, we call it spiritually, but it's all information and energy. You're just gathering way more information and energy psychically. And so for me, it's been a lot easier. You start to see timelines and how things are they could branch out in different directions, but you're aligning with your higher self, and your higher self is taking you down a path that is just everything. It's in charge of everything else for you. You don't have to do anything. All you got to do is do the things that you're told to do when you're told to do them, which is right now, right? Like I said, I was trying to talk an investor into trying to explain to him why what I'm doing is different than everything else, because everybody else is focused on themselves, and your heart will always force you to focus on what it is that you can do for others, and at the same time empowering yourself, because that's what empowers you. When you can unlock, that's what everybody wants, right? How can I unlock your life so that it makes our lives better together? Why would I want to follow my dreams for me if I'm sitting alone on a beach? It doesn't make sense. It's totally senseless. Love you guys. I'm not going to pull a card, but I just wanted to get on here and tell you guys how much I care about everybody around me. I know there's a lot of people that, and I was through it, right? I mean, all of us worked in different things in our lives, and the things that you have to overcome in this life in order to really, especially doing what I'm doing, are very profound. You have to transmute a lot of negative energy. Because if somebody's not on the same life path, then it is what it is. So I love you guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you later.